Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this village board meeting to order on Monday, February 15, 2021. We are meeting virtually tonight. Because of that, we have the associated technical problems, such as the mayor not turning on his microphone. And so it is still not practical or prudent for us to meet in person. So we're again meeting virtually this evening. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. And I would ask all to rise and join the village board in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Well, let's go ahead and reconvene our village board meeting here under the committee of the whole link. And I do see that there are members of the public who have now joined us under this old link. And so I do believe we're meeting now all legal requirements to proceed with the agenda pursuant to consultation with our village attorney. And so we'll go ahead and proceed with the formal agenda of the village board meeting. And the next item is the approval of minutes. And I do have two sets of minutes to approve tonight. First is from the joint meeting of the village board and the library dated January 16, 2021. Are there any changes or passes?
Pass.
Move approval.
Passed by trustee LaBedz. Motion to approve by, who was it? Trustee Scaletta, seconded by trustee Baldino. Roll call.
Trustee Scaletta,
Yes.
trustee Baldino,
Yes.
trustee Canty,
Yes.
trustee Rosenberg,
Yes.
trustee Schwingbeck,
Yes.
trustee Padovani,
Yes.
trustee Tinaglia,
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Next is the approval of the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting from February 1st, 2021. Any changes or passes?
Move approval. Second.
Motion to approve by trustee Tinaglia, seconded by trustee Rosenberg. Any questions or comments from the board or from the audience? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Tinaglia,
Yes.
trustee Rosenberg,
Yes.
trustee Schwingbeck,
Yes.
trustee Canty,
Yes.
trustee Padovani,
Yes.
trustee LaBedz,
Yes.
trustee Scaletta,
Yes.
trustee Baldino,
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Next is the approval of the accounts payable, and I call on trustee Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. I would move approval of the warrant register with a check date of February 15th, 2021 in the amount of $1,999,841.06.
Second.
A motion by trustee Rosenberg, seconded by trustee Scaletta. Any questions or comments from the board or the audience? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Rosenberg,
Yes.
trustee Scaletta,
Yes.
trustee Tinaglia,
Yes.
trustee Schwingbeck,
Yes.
trustee Padovani,
Yes.
trustee Baldino,
Yes.
trustee Canty,
Yes.
trustee LaBedz,
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Well, under recognitions and presentations, it's not on the agenda, but I just wanted to recognize the passing of a member of the greatest generation, a great American, former Marine, 95-year-old Woody Hughes, who was a great friend of Arlington Heights and a great friend of mine that I developed a great friendship with over the past 10 years or so. And so he passed away last week, again, at the age of 95. But Woody was, again, a very prominent former Marine. He was a messenger for the Code Talkers on Iwo Jima and actually witnessed the flag raising on Iwo Jima from his vantage point at the base of Mount Suribachi. And so we will dearly miss him here. He was a great friend of Arlington Heights and spent a lot of time at Veterans Day activities here in our community. And he had a last wish that he shared with a number of us. And Greg Padovani, if you could just briefly let everybody know what that wish was.
Thank you, Mayor. Woody's last request to everyone is that on February 23rd,
a week from this Thursday, that at 10 a.m. in the morning, you raise the flag, because that is the 76th anniversary of the flag raising on Mount Suribachi during the Battle of Iwo Jima. And Woody just wanted everybody to do it, schools especially, because Woody was a teacher at both Maine East and Maine West. And they're going to do something special, I'm told. Anybody at your home, at your business, any of the governmental organizations, churches, you name it, anybody who has a flagpole and a flag, please, if you can, on February 23rd, in honor of Woody, in honor of everything and all the people who gave their lives in the Battle of Iwo Jima and even World War II, please raise your flag at 10 a.m. on February 23rd. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Greg. Moving on then to public hearings, and we do have one public hearing tonight. And so I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing regarding the municipal separate storm sewer systems MS4 permit.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Tinaglia, seconded by trustee LaBedz. Roll call.
Trustee Tinaglia,
Yes.
trustee LaBedz,
Yes.
trustee Scaletta,
Yes.
trustee Padovani,
Yes.
trustee Canty,
Yes.
trustee Schwingbeck,
Yes.
trustee Baldino,
Yes.
trustee Rosenberg,
yes,
President Hayes.
Yes, we are in public hearing. Mr. Recklaus?
I'm going to have our Assistant Public Works Director, Chris Perniak, introduce this topic.
Hey everybody, my name is Chris Perniak. Thank you very much for coming tonight. Briefly go over the Stormwater Management Program we like to call the SWMP. As you're all aware, we're full of acronyms, so I'll try to be brief tonight. The Village's Stormwater Management Program is a tailored program designed to meet the standards required under the US EPA National Pollution Discharge Elimination System Phase 2 program. Municipalities our size are required to submit stormwater permits for their discharges. Compliance with the SWMP is intended to protect water quality, improve recreational opportunities, reduce flood damage, offer better aesthetics and wildlife habitats, and lead to a safer environment for our citizens. The program only applies to our separated stormwater sewer systems. The village collects stormwater into two different systems, a combined and a separated system. The combined sewers collect sanitary and stormwater in one conduit and discharge it into the the deep tunnel regulated by MWRD. Separated storm sewers are located generally north of Palatine and south of Central Avenue within the village limits and only collect separate storm sewers, separate storm water. Although the village is tributary to 5 watersheds, the majority of our water is discharged to McDonald Creek and Weller Creek. In 2017, the village established a stormwater utility fee in order to address the needs of our separated storm sewer systems. Since this time, the village has developed 2 stormwater studies, designed and constructed 2 flood improvement projects, and has a 3rd on tonight's agenda for consideration. A 4th improvement project is under design and scheduled and budgeted for construction in 2022. In order to meet the requirements of the permit, the village established best management practices based on minimal control measures provided by the US EPA and established yearly goals. Every year, the village completes an annual report describing the status of our compliance with the permit conditions. The village is in full compliance with the regulations, and the annual reports can be found on the village's website. That's all I have for tonight.
All right, questions or comments from the village board? Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. And thank you, Chris, for this report. I did read it and I found it really interesting. I can confess that I didn't understand all the engineering and science behind it, but the thing that really stood out to me, and which is why I wanted to comment, is that we all play a role in protecting our water runoff. And, you know, even down to the way what you do at your own home, you know, in the report, it discussed how even something as washing your own car with certain, cleaning supplies in the, in your driveway could affect what is the runoff that gets into the stormwater system, or power washing, or if there's construction on your home site, that can also have an effect. And so I mentioned this because I think it's important as we all work to take care of our environment in so many ways, that we realize that each of us as individuals, this is not plays a role, and it's not just something that the village has to deal with, or businesses specifically, or that sort of thing. So would you mind talking a little bit more about some of the specifics on that aspect of it?
Sure, absolutely. A lot of our public outreach is done in educational materials and pamphlets that we have throughout the municipality. We also have special events sponsored through Schwingbeck, hazardous removal programs, Arbor Day, and other ways and means in which we can collect and get information to the residents and get feedback, such as tonight's public hearing.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's all very important, and thank you for doing that and bringing this out. Thanks.
Absolutely.
All right, any other questions or comments from the board? Trustee Baldino.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chris, for your presentation and for the report. Robin sort of asked the question that I was going to ask about the special events, so thank you for that answer. One of the things that I noticed as I read through the report was the report references various limits that we're supposed to meet and testing requirements, but it doesn't talk about what kind of testing we do. Are we doing any routine testing? I know it does say that if we find an illicit discharge, we're supposed to do some testing, but is there any routine testing to see if we're meeting our goals and our limits?
Yeah.
And who is doing that? Are we doing that, or is that being done by the district?
The district is not doing the testing. We're doing the testing, and that's on the website under our own water quality testing and reports. We need to do that through consultants. And those are selected sites that we submit with our MS4 permit, showing what timelines, and I believe they're about once a year, and locations within the community that we think best represents the community and our discharges to the different watersheds. In addition to the water quality standards and testing that we do, we also have to do routine inspections of publicly controlled detention ponds, privately controlled detention ponds, and then a certain percentage of what we feel are high risk entities. Let's say a car lot. We think that there's a lot of potential leaking off of older cars. That would be a high potential consideration. We would have to go out, document the inspection, and then I'll also have that included in our report.
Great. And I must confess I have not gone to look at that link. Have we had success in meeting our TMDLs, our maximum daily loads?
We don't have any concerns or regulation problems in town. There are areas within our watershed
Sure.
that are obviously having that, and we have different peaks that we're struggling with chlorides. So we have different peaks at different times when we get it. A lot of the biggest hits and a lot of our stuff are around major arterials, and a lot of that is just we share our responsibilities with our county and state and also federal highway authority. So a lot of that is we're all in the same argument together. As the board knows, Public Works has switched to or try to push as much liquid chloride as much as possible, trying to reduce the use of our salts, which, as we all know, ends up in the waterways.
Great. And just so I'm aware, and so that it's on the record, how many stormwater management facilities are in the village approximately? Because I know that you said that we're supposed to, or the report says, excuse me, that we're inspecting around 20% of those facilities every year. And how many, I'm just trying to get a handle on how many facilities that is.
I don't have that in front of me. I'll have to get back to you on that to get you the exact number. We're required to inspect a certain number of manholes, a certain percentage of manholes. This last year, we inspected 48 manholes for condition, because again, this is also maintenance. This is also a maintenance permit as well. So it's maintenance, operation, and water quality. I can get that number to you. I don't have it off the top
Sure,
of my head.
sure. And that
I want to
also
say we
includes-
inspected 10 high hazard sites this year. I
Okay.
don't know what percentage that is.
and those would typically be things like outfalls and discharge points.
We have, for the outfalls, we have required to have an outfall map, and we have to do dry weather inspections of those outfalls. I was talking about high hazard locations where we might have potential contaminants and leaking from our private industries. We're
Okay.
required to inspect those as well.
Right. And so that leads into the last question that I'll ask. Have we found any instances where we've had illicit discharges?
We have had numerous calls on illicit discharges. We're required by law to investigate all of them. None of them have been substantiated to my knowledge.
Okay.
On our inspections, we've seen poor practices that we've had to document improvements on.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Great job. Great job to Public Works. And thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the time.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Trustee Baldino. Other questions from the board? Trustee Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mayor. Chris, thanks for the work on this report. Just curious, is there anything else that we as the board need to help you with as far as doing anything in relation to this?
No, I think a huge step the board has already taken on is the stormwater utility fee. For a long time, as the NPDES requirements increased, our parameters, our testing requirements increased, and the cost of doing that business increased. Establishing the stormwater utility fee was a huge hurdle for us. So the board has already taken those steps. It is on our job now to just to report that.
Thank you.
All right, other questions from the board? Mr. Recklos.
The one thing I was just going to add, if you all recall, one of the things that was on the business plan that we were supposed to work on last year and was kind of a casualty of COVID was reviewing our single family regulations as they relate to stormwater. And, you know, while we're on this topic, I was just going to say that we've restarted that project, and we are working with Christopher Burke Engineering on that effort. We're hoping potentially, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, to be in a position to do some report outs to the board on some potential changes to our ordinances, possibly this spring, I would think. Probably.
Correct.
Is that about right?
Correct. We've gone through 2 drafts already, so I do believe we can hit that benchmark.
Yep. So we are working on that one as well. It was just a bit delayed because of other priorities last year.
Okay, anything else from the board? Anything from the audience under the public hearing portion of this agenda item? Seeing no comments from the audience, if nothing further from the board, we will then entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Tinaglia, seconded by Trustee Baldino. Roll call.
Trustee Tinaglia,
Yes.
Trustee Baldino,
Yes.
Trustee Padovani,
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz,
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck,
Yes.
Trustee Rosenberg,
Yes.
Trustee Scaletta,
Yes.
Trustee Canty,
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes, and again, thanks, Chris, for your report. We will then move on in the agenda to citizens to be heard. And there were no comments submitted in advance of our meeting this evening pursuant to report from our village clerk. And so I would ask if the audience has anything they'd like to address the board on items not on the agenda. And you're just reminded of the 3-minute time limit. And I do see one hand from Melissa Kayer. Melissa?
Hello, on the website under boards and commissions, the information for joint review board does not contain the appointed community member or a list of the taxing bodies on the board.
All right, I don't know, Mr. Recklos, do you have any comments on that?
Sure. The Joint Review Board is not a village appointed commission. And so whomever the taxing body would like to send as their representative, they are able to send. And that may vary from meeting to meeting. I know it depends on the availability of different officials. And so every taxing body has the opportunity to send any representative that they so choose to any of those meetings. And that's something that is dictated by state law. Our boards and commissions section on our website generally relates just to boards for which we have appointing authority.
There's one appointed community member on it, and a list of the taxing bodies would be helpful.
Sure, that's something we can look into for sure.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Melissa. And next is Peg Lane.
Hi, this is Peg. I contacted everyone of the trustees today about my disappointment at the vote to not include affordable housing for seniors in the ordinance that was passed. Is there, what is the next step there to reverse that?
Well, I don't know that there's consensus to reverse that. We've already had some discussion regarding that in our prior meeting, and there will certainly be ongoing consideration on issues related to that. Mr. Recklouse, do you want to just address that further in this meeting?
Certainly. You know, one of the things we mentioned in the last meeting was that while the aspect of our inclusionary housing ordinance that relates to mandating affordable units for certain types of developments did not include group of, you know, senior housing because of market reasons. That was not, that's not the only tool in our toolbox for helping affordable housing goals to be met within our community. We have a broader program available that includes many features. You know, number one, we do have home health care program, which is one of those issues that allows individuals to age in place and not necessarily have to move to an assisted living facility, which can be expensive. We're one of the few communities in the area that has a health department that has nurses available to visit folks at home to provide some healthcare services. Another unique program we have is a single family rehab program where we provide zero interest loans for individuals, this is means tested, to rehab their homes. And again, to maybe make their home better for them at whatever stage of life that they're currently in. These are zero interest for individuals that qualify, and it's a very popular program with seniors who are looking to remain in their homes in an affordable way. The other thing that we have that's still a work in progress is our Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And this is something that's established, it has been established over the years by contributions by developers as required under our previous and current inclusionary housing ordinance. The planning department is working with the Housing Commission currently on some possible ways to program that money, and that very well could include programs that would benefit seniors. And you know, one of the challenges that we looked at was for senior housing, how for a multi-service housing development where food is prepared and recreation and so forth, how to make that affordable. The metrics are much more difficult to determine for that type of housing development. And as one of our trustees, Trustee Scaletta, mentioned in the last meeting, essentially what will happen is if you were to have 5% of those units be affordable, it means 95% of the units would have to be a little less affordable to accommodate that. And so at the time, we didn't believe that was a good option to pursue. It's something that this or a future board always has the opportunity to revisit. This is always a work in progress, just like we redid our affordable housing ordinance last year. We can always look at these things again, but at that time we were hesitant to do it because we didn't think that we thought it would be a very blunt instrument to require that of all group senior housing facilities, given those challenges. But it doesn't mean that we're not working towards affordable housing in general for seniors.
How would those metrics be any different from, say, housing for people with disabilities?
Well, for housing, there's not a lot of housing for individuals with disabilities that's designed for them that isn't built as affordable. And I think that's the difference. Whereas there are a lot of at-market housing developments that are designed for seniors, and they can be quite expensive, and they have a lot of amenities that are very expensive. And so finding a way to determine how to make that affordable when those sometimes are inherently not affordable things can be very difficult. And the other challenge is not every development has the same amenities. And so how you develop a standard applicable to all developments when they have different amenities is a challenge. And I'm not saying this isn't something that we couldn't look at some point in the future. We have not found a good model for that we felt would not dramatically discourage the arrival of senior housing within our community.
Ed, we're going to have to move on to the next individual. But thank you for your comments. Next is Keith Moons. Keith?
Yeah, thank you, President Hayes. See, I just have to disagree a little bit here with this idea that somehow this ordinance still contains senior affordable housing and that we can, offshoot here to some of these other programs, because in the original ordinance, there was a section 1709 that clearly calculated what the affordable units would be on the independent living units. It was clearly calculated there and could be going forward on any independent. I understand, I do agree that the difficulty to calculate affordable housing requirements on assisted living and memory care, but it's not difficult at all to calculate it on the independent living units. But since that section was deleted, it took out all senior housing out of the ordinance. And so that's where I think we get, where we need to go back and relook at that. The board could exclusively remove assisted living, memory care, nursing homes, but still retain affordable housing requirements on individual living units, no matter where they show up in town. In fact, back in October, in January of 2020, according to the Director of Planning and Community Development at that date, developers had already agreed with the terms and conditions of that section 1709. So I don't know, I think that, these other programs are great, but we do need to go back into the ordinance and just amend it to include independent living units, not just rental units that somebody decides to put up, but independent living units for seniors. I know the new talking point is that we have to let our new ordinance do its thing and we can't change it now. But the way it looks is that we're not going to have any senior affordable units going forward here unless we amend that ordinance to do so.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moons. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to address the board on an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll close then the citizens to be heard agenda item and move on to old business, and there is none. So we move on to the consent agenda. Are there any members of the board who wish to remove an item on the consent agenda? Any members of the audience wish to remove an item on the consent agenda? Any members of the board wish to vote no or pass on any item on the consent agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion to approve the consent agenda by Trustee Scaletta, seconded by Trustee Tinaglia. Any further questions or comments from the board? I do see one from the audience, Melissa Kayer. Question on an item on the consent agenda?
Yeah, the one about the O'Hare Noise Commission.
All right, Melissa, and Mr. Passman, you'll have to correct me, but since it's not removed, we can't discuss it. Is that right?
Mayor, it's really in the discretion of your discretion as the presiding officer and the discretion of the board. It's up to you whether you want to entertain discussion at this time.
Okay. Mr. Recklouse, if you
Sure.
feel comfortable explaining that very quickly.
This is just really kind of a ministerial function. The O'Hare Noise Commission is allowed to exist via an agreement with the with all the municipalities involved, and this is just an update to that agreement. There's nothing substantive that's changed. We still are there's still going to be an O'Hare Noise Compatibility Commission. We're still looking out for the best interests of our residents through that process.
All right, if no other questions or comments from the audience, roll call.
Trustee Scaletta,
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia,
Yes.
Trustee Baldino,
Yes.
Trustee Canty,
Yes.
Trustee Rosenberg,
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz,
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck,
Yes.
Trustee Padovani,
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes, we move into new business and there is also none of that. And so we ask the village manager for any report that he might have.
No, just telling everyone to be careful out there. The snow conditions are going to be challenging, and to be patient with our public works crews for a storm that goes on this long. It's sometimes difficult to keep up. And so we just ask people to be diligent.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ecklouse. Anything from the board under petitions and communications? Seeing none, I just want to apologize to all for our technical difficulties tonight. We'll do our best to make sure that they don't happen in the future. If nothing further, then I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Made by Trustee Tinaglia, seconded by Trustee Baldino. Roll call.
Trustee Tinaglia,
Yes.
Trustee Baldino,
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz,
Yes.
Trustee Scaletta,
Yes.
Trustee Rosenberg,
Yes.
Trustee Padovani,
Yes.
Trustee Canty,
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck,
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Again, thank you all for joining us tonight. Be safe out there.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Right.
Thank you. Good night.